Donald Trump is significantly weaker than he appears, and the No Kings protest and his reaction to that protest further confirmed his weakness. Let me explain. I'm an independent journalist that's been covering Donald Trump and American politics for over a decade now. I've made appearances on MSNBC, CNN, I documented every single day of Trump's first term, and I write a best-selling Substack newsletter in which I've covered Project 2025 since 2023. And I'm happy to report that the No Kings protests this past Saturday were a resounding success. In the tactics, in their turnout, and in the reaction to the protests, it was all further confirmation of Donald Trump's deepening political weakness and his fear of losing the midterms. There's kind of been this false narrative perpetuating that the resistance to Donald Trump's second term is smaller and weaker than the resistance to his first. But the data indicates otherwise, and the No Kings protest, which now we can say was the single largest single-day political protest in US history, is yet the latest example of why that is not true and why the resistance to Donald Trump's second term is actually larger than the first and why we're seeing it more widespread among the people. Let's get into it. No Kings organizers estimate that nearly 7 million Americans across the country participated in this pro-democracy, anti-authoritarian protest, which would make it the single largest political protest in US history, the single largest single-day protest in US history. And G. Elliott Morris, a data journalist on Substack, wrote that nearly 5.5 million and 8.7 million would be the upper estimate may have participated in this. He did this in collaboration with other data journalists. So this was a significant single-day event that showcased a level of defiance from the American people that could not be ignored. This data from G. Elliott Morris is key because, as you can see, beyond No Kings, there have been more than 3 times as many protests during Donald Trump's second term, right? At this point in Donald Trump's second term compared to this point in Donald Trump's first term. So there have been significantly more protests. And now we have the largest one ever this term. So yes, the resistance is massive. It is not smaller. Not only were the numbers massive, but the tactics were sound. The Republican Party and Donald Trump desperately tried to frame this as some paid Antifa violent movement, right? They called them Marxists. They said they were terrorists. Instead, millions of Americans showed up with their families, with their kids in inflatable costumes, showing up and showing out, right? We saw multiple police departments from the NYPD to the Austin Police Department. They were posting on social media, literally thanking people and saying, thank you so much for peacefully protesting and exercising your First Amendment rights. You did it the right way. Protesters were literally being congratulated by police departments for how they conducted themselves. This was a massive W because it not only showcased the numbers, but it also showcased that the tactics were not violent, and it directly debunked Donald Trump's disinformation about these protests and this movement. So we've talked about the tactics, we've talked about the numbers, we've talked about why this protest was so successful. But another indicator of why this protest was a massive success is the reaction to it. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have been behaving in an unhinged, unmeasured way in their reaction to this protest. After previously defaming it as violent, some posts we saw from right-wing influencers trying to claim it was mostly just old white people that were there. So, okay, one of the largest voting blocs, you're going to insult them. That's an interesting response. And then the other end, we saw Vance and other Republicans, including Donald Trump, posting AI images of Donald Trump in a crown, effectively validating the premise of the protests. And of course, how can I forget, the AI video of Donald Trump literally flying, dropping deuces on the American people. Now, I'm not going to post this video because we've already seen it, and I don't want to give it any more juice, but it was disgusting. And it specifically dropped on Harry Sisson, you know, the TikToker here, right? So it was disgusting. And if anything, it was just trying to troll because they had no effective way to push back on this. Think about this. They were hoping it was going to be a violent protest so that their response could be, they probably had things drafted up saying, we are going to come and crack down, we're going to invoke the Insurrection Act, because what they wanted to do was provoke the worst of America. Instead, they're provoking the best of us to show up and show out and be pro-democracy and anti-authoritarian. It was a beautiful day on Saturday, and I'm hoping we'll see more of this in the future. Compounding this massive anti-Trump demonstration we saw across the country and the world was a new poll from the AP showing that Donald Trump's approval rating is now at 37%. This is one of many polls in recent months that has seen Donald Trump's approval hit that low. That is very low. That's very unpopular. And it further validates what I've been saying in all of these videos about Trump being weak, that he is deeply unpopular with the American people. And they're showing that In the physical world, in the online world, in the surveys, they're showcasing that they have a major opposition to Donald Trump and the Republican Party's agenda. Now we're going to see what happens next, but right now Donald Trump is deeply unpopular. Now I covered all the other acts of defiance facing Donald Trump in my previous video on this. You can see that in the playlist here. This is going to be a reoccurring series where we talk about the ways in which Donald Trump is failing. I'm going to do that on top of my other anti-authoritarian journalism I do on my Substack, which I mentioned at the beginning of this video. If you want to support this work, go check out my Substack and consider becoming a free or paid subscriber at ahmedbaba.news. I'd really appreciate it. So follow me, make sure you engage with this post, share it around, because I'm gonna be doing more of these, because right now we need hope. We need to recognize that Donald Trump is not invulnerable. And again, you are more powerful than you realize.